Let's see if I get diarrhea.
Except I'm in Japan, where raw eggs are typically eaten for breakfast. So I should be okay, right?
In the US, 1.35 million people get infected by Salmonella every year, sending thousands of people to the hospital.
And the biggest culprits? Undercooked meat, like chicken, eggs, and unpasteurized milk.
In fact, 125,000 people get Salmonella from chicken alone each year. That's fevers, explosive diarrhea, and projectile vomit for a few days.
Eating raw eggs in the US could mess you up, but in Japan it's a little bit different.
In 2011, Japan did a nationwide test of over 100,000 eggs and found the rate of Salmonella for the eggs was 0.003%, which is freaking low. On top of that, since 2015, there was 0 to 2 cases of Salmonella food poisoning each year from eggs. Yes, even the raw ones.
So how's this even happening? There's 2 ways eggs can get Salmonella: on the shell or inside the egg.
If the mother gets infected, usually through her environment, Salmonella can make its way into her ovaries and straight into the egg before even the shell forms.
It's a long, tedious process to keep that from happening.
Salmonella-infected hens are identified and removed from the flock. Hens are vaccinated against Salmonella. Good bacteria are added to the chicken feed, called competitive exclusion. That bacteria outcompetes the Salmonella in the gut of the chicken. Feed, environment, and water systems are kept clean. And most importantly, they follow something called an HACCP system, a strict cleanliness and monitoring program with regular testing built in.
And to keep Salmonella off eggshells, Japan uses an insane amount of technology in order to do that at scale.
Eggs are collected and washed rapidly after being laid. The shells are sanitized to kill any surface bacteria, but they avoid high pressure or high temperature washes to keep the egg's natural cuticle, the protective layer that blocks bacteria, intact. That's what allows eggs to be stored safely at room temperature. Each egg is gently tapped to check for cracks. The ones with cracks are discarded. Another machine shines light through the shell to inspect for things like blood spots. Eggs are regularly tested and sorted. Ones safe to eat raw go to the grocery stores, while lower grade eggs are marked for cooking for commercial use. The eggs have shorter expiration dates to ensure freshness, but they can vary between seasons. They last longer during colder months and shorter during the hotter months. And each carton is labeled with where it came from, down to the supplier and lot number. So if something does go wrong, it can be traced back instantly. Regulatory bodies like the Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare, known as the MHLW, set and enforce strict standards for safety and quality.
So what does raw egg actually taste like when it's treated this carefully?
I went to a restaurant where they had all-you-could-eat tamago kake gohan, raw eggs mixed with rice, where they gave you as many raw eggs as you wanted to eat. It's all sourced from different farms with different chickens with all sorts of eggs, from double egg yolks to pure white eggs to eggs with different flavors. You just crack it over some rice, season with soy sauce and whatever toppings you have around you, and eat it with soup and some seaweed.
And the eggs don't really add a crazy amount of flavors. I've actually tried all the flavors, and the yuzu one actually tastes the most strong. Like, I couldn't really tell the rest apart. The only one I could tell the difference was the yuzu one. I don't know what they feed the chickens, but it's like straight yuzu flavor. The soy sauce seasons it, so it's actually way yummier with soy sauce. If you're not used to slimy flavors, it's a little bit strange, but I like the flavors. Usually this isn't like a restaurant food that you would eat, it's just something you would eat for breakfast at home. Like cracking an egg over already cooked rice is like a perfect way to like have a meal. Yeah. Because it's really not that much effort, and it's something you can do every morning very easily. Gives you a little bit of protein, a little bit of fat, some nutrients to start your day. So then if raw eggs are safe, then is raw chicken safe too? Well, it's complicated. First, we're going to answer why eating raw food in Japan is important in the first place.
In a lot of Japanese households, the belief is that foods need to be eaten raw, then grilled, and then boiled. The freshest ingredients deserve to be eaten raw because it's closest to its purest form, its truest taste. Japanese cooking tends to use fewer strong spices, not because it lacks flavor, but because the natural taste of the ingredients is highly valued. And seasoning is often subtle, designed to reveal, not mask what's already there.
On top of that, for about 1,000 years, from the 600s to 1600s, Japan's meat consumption was heavily restricted. mostly for religious reasons. So Japan's basically an island. Fish was the go-to thing to be eaten raw, making cuisines like sushi and sashimi. Meats such as beef, chicken, and pork were actually introduced relatively recently. So what happens when you take this deep respect for raw ingredients and apply it to something like... I've been seeing a lot of vloggers and influencers rave about torisashi, or chicken sashimi, saying that it's safe to eat and it's really tasty. So I looked into it. In Kagoshima, the southern tip of Japan, torisashi is a regional specialty. People proudly eat their raw pieces of chicken here. But there are special precautions that are taken here to make sure the chicken is safe to eat.
In 2012, a Torisashi Safety Council was formed in Kagoshima and Miyazaki to set hygiene standards for raw chicken.
Equipment is sanitized properly. Since most of the bacteria is on the digestive tract of the chicken, it is carefully inspected and removed. Doing a special searing kills the bacteria on the outside. Chicken are also specifically labeled to be eaten raw, and it's separated from the chicken that you need to cook. The most common food illness in Japan and the US is not Salmonella. It's actually something called Campylobacter. Campylobacter usually causes diarrhea, cramps, and fever, but in rare cases, it can lead to nerve damage and even paralysis.
A study compared Campylobacter contamination in 2 types of chicken. Chicken sold at specialty Torisashi shops in Kagoshima, the region famous for its raw chicken sashimi, and regular supermarket chicken meant for cooking. What they found was kind of surprising. 46 out of 61, or 77% of Torisashi shops had Campylobacter levels below detectable limits, which you won't get sick from. Only 14 out of 46 samples from the supermarket chicken met that same standard. Torisashi shops were significantly cleaner than supermarket chicken. But here's the catch. Even among specialty Torisashi samples, 3 of the 61, 5%, still had Campylobacter levels high enough to potentially cause illness. The rest of the Torisashi samples had detectable levels of Campylobacter, but they were within a range considered too low to cause illness. So while the chicken used for Torisashi is much cleaner, it's not 100% safe. And there was still 5% of the samples that still mattered when you were eating it raw. One limitation of the study is that it only looked at Campylobacter, not other bacteria like E. coli, Salmonella, that is also common in raw meat. While those also come from the chicken's digestive tract, Campylobacter poses a higher risk at lower doses.
The problem is that operating procedures for slaughterhouses are not standardized across the country, at least for chicken that's eaten raw. They do have a Torisashi Association, but that's more like general guidelines rather than laws. And some shops, especially in urban areas that don't have access to these chickens, they use chicken that's meant to be cooked for chicken sashimi. This isn't always the case, but it's still reported to happen every once in a while. The best way to avoid being sick is just cook your meat all the way before eating it. But for the people who actually want to try this, here's some guidelines. Absolutely don't try to make this at home. The chicken that is used are specially made for this. Eat it at reputable restaurants. I was really surprised to see it at supermarkets all over Kyushu, just casually there, but even those had warnings all over it. Eat in Kyushu, which is the most southern region of Japan. Even better if it's Kagoshima or Miyazaki, where Torisashi is the regional specialty. Your safest bet would probably be going to one of the restaurants that are listed on the Torisashi Association website, where they all agree to follow all the standards and safety practices that help keep the chicken safe. Avoid it if you're a young child, elderly, pregnant, or immunocompromised. Once you get it, don't let it sit out, eat it as soon as possible. Don't give the bacteria time to multiply. Don't eat too much of it because there's still a chance of it having bacteria on it that are within normal limits for that serving size, but if you overeat, you can still get sick from it. Eating raw chicken is definitely riskier than eating raw eggs. People still get sick from eating raw eggs, but definitely a lot less and is way more regulated across the entire country. Chicken is more of a, I'm gonna volunteer to keep these safety standards in a small group. So knowing all this, would you try it?
この電車はのぞみ号博多行きです。
It's hard not to want to eat everything here. When everything is prepared so carefully, with such attention to detail, it pulls you in. You just want to be part of it. That's the beautiful thing about being human. We come together to make meaning through celebration, safety, and culture. But culture also hands us assumptions, quietly, without us realizing. And sometimes those assumptions clash. Not because anybody's wrong, but because no culture has all the answers. Now that I've lived halfway across the world from my home, I find myself wondering what else I've never questioned. Sometimes clarity doesn't come from finding the answer, but from realizing the questions we've never asked.
Okay, we finally made it. We had to try like 3 different shops just to get this Torisashi. And this is raw chicken. I'm gonna eat it. It looks really good. It looks so good. Like, this plating is amazing. There's warnings on the menu that says like, be careful if you're like not feeling well. So, you know, they take precautions here to like warn you about the raw chickens and the concerns of eating raw chicken. Chicken breast. It's actually so good. Man, I'm so mad that that I can't have chicken like breast like this all the time. If I could have chicken like breast like this all the time, I would be so ripped. I would be so happy to eat chicken breast. Chicken breast is like the driest thing on the planet if you don't cook it right. But if you just eat it raw, it's so much better. So it's kind of chewy. It's, if you have ever had tuna sushi before, it's chewier than that, but it doesn't have like a chicken flavor to it. All of it's kind of like seared around the edges. The surface of the meat is cooked. And here's thigh. It has some raw chicken skin too. That's really good. So since the thigh was cut a little bit thicker, it was a little bit chewy, and the skin kind of had like the smoky charred flavor to it. I kind of like that. And that's really freaking delicious. Not a lot of chicken flavor going through, but it's, I mean, it's just more moist. None of the moisture is like cooked out of it. So it's really tasty. And this is liver for this. I'm a little scared about this one because the innards is where the bacteria is, but you know, they gave it to me on a plate, and yeah, I'm just gonna try it. That, damn. If I get sick later, that's kind of worth it. That's kind of worth it. That was like the most tender piece of meat. It has this really unique kind of like sweetness to it, and it does have a slight hint of like this chicken flavor to it. But the texture of that is so good. It's like a really soft, like you have a bit of chewier than a piece of fish, but it's velvety smooth going down. So I think liver's my favorite, but it's the sketchiest piece of meat to eat. Yeah, I'm gonna finish this, and I wish we could have raw chicken like regularly. I really enjoy this. So, see ya. Have a good day.